Greetings, valued poll listeners, and welcome to episode 113 of the Poll List Podcast, a bi-weekly show about comics, pop culture, and faith. My name is Chris Poirier, and with me, as always, is the one, the only, the magical, the still staring at Nightwing things on the internet. He says
Nope,
no, but
no peaches.
we know that's a lie. Hector.
I don't like the accusatory tone of your jib, sir.
Sir. uh
Hi, people.
Hi, it's Hector. He's over there, or whatever side of the screen he ends up on. Um, I think it actually is the opposite of the way that it looks on our screens, which is kind of funny. But here we are.
I
You don't
have,
know that.
I don't know that either.
What's happening?
Mm-mm.
Well, we're here to talk about comics. That's what we're here for.
That's right, kids.
Yeah, checking the notes. Yeah, comics.
Comics.
Hector might have to check because you still have like 17 shows, right?
Yeah, more than I want.
But the people just can't get enough, Hector.
Can they, though?
Give the people what they want. More Hector. All Hector, all the time.
I don't think there's anyone who's sitting at home thinking, you know what I need more of? That guy.
That guy.
I don't think that's accurate. I don't think that's a real thing.
You don't think that's a thing? All right. Well, write the show. Let us know. More Hector. And we'll work on it. We'll see how much more Hector we can get you.
None.
Hector's like,
There's
no.
none left.
He's just going to hit, loop on some of his shows. Some of you might notice. Some of you might not. It's tricky that way.
I'm gonna literally morph into an absolution or something at this point if I
Well,
try and do
actually,
more.
I guess we could dump all of your shows into an AI and just have it do a show for you now. Like
Yeah, after
that
what
exi- that
yeah,
exists. That's creepy. I want to do it now.
don't do it.
just to see what we get.
Don't. No, that doesn't need to happen. It might become sentient. No one needs it.
It's gonna be like DC makes good comics. Marvel, how dare you?
I want Nightcrawler and Daredevil would love Jesus, but they sin a lot. There's blood.
There's a lot of sinning going on.
Scenarios.
Oh. Yep. Well, you know what that means. It means you need to strap yourselves in and prepare yourselves for we've got comics time. There's comic books.
Better put the word out. Get ready for the nerd out. Better put specs on. Better bring next song. I cut handsome checks for my expansion sets. They call me Obi-Wan. Act like you know me, son. Better put the word out.
Supposedly.
No, we actually have comics to talk about. I don't feel like I stretched this week. I feel like I hit my 5. I didn't have to force something into the number, right? All right, save it for the podcast. On today's episode of the Poll List, we have a wonderful show for you. We're going to hit the latest news that you need to know, our must poll recommendations from the past 2 weeks, or a little more because we might or may not have missed the last show, but that's fine. That happens. It me. But our new favorite number one.
I missed the Faith and Fandom one that same week.
Oh, so we just went like super okay. So
Radio silent.
All right. Well, we took a week off. Thanks, Matt. We still love you.
Mm-hmm. And how?
And how? Thank you, buddy. This is the Poll List Podcast.
Allegedly.
Allegedly. Hey, we're still here. And we're still going to talk about comics, believe it or not. That's what you came to hear today. Do not click DCUniverseInfinite.com/comic/book/nothing but BUTT Nightwing 2024. And I can't finish the rest of that. So you'll find it. Or don't find it, because Hector told you not to. He said, no. I have news. I have something interesting for us to talk about at the end because it's been a while since some people have put some of these things out into the ether for industry stuff. So our last thing could be somewhat interesting. So first of all, some stuff that's coming. I don't know if you've noticed. I noticed. Godzilla is in everything.
Yes.
Everything.
Literally everything.
Literally everything. And I literally put that in my show notes as Godzilla's in everything. He's going to be he already had MonsterVerse tie-ins in DC. Marvel's announced similar projects. There's some of their IDW actually owns most of the original Godzilla imprint stuff. So there's currently a series of Godzilla destroys X City that's running. So Chicago was the latest one, but there Godzilla is going to eat a lot of big cities over this summer, kids. And you can read it in the comic book form. Um,
I feel like Godzilla loses a lot of majesty on print.
yeah, but I am spoiler alert for later. Going to talk about one of their books for a very specific reason. But I've read like the Kong stuff that was like in the DC early stuff because they started there and then Godzilla and King of the Monsters and all that nonsense. Um, it just feels weird to have like the Justice League taking on a Universal monster and then Marvel being like, "Hey, we got these Avengers over here. Let's have them fight Godzilla next." And it's like, I mean,
I mean, they've
sure,
done Avengers, they've done
okay.
Justice League, they've done literally
It's
everybody.
yeah, I just kind of found myself like, that's a lot of Godzilla. And I like Godzilla. But I was like, that's too much Godzilla.
Well, when Godzilla wins an Academy Award, people just, you know,
Mm.
don't have a way to turn that off.
Print that money.
Hmm.
Mm. Well, there we are. Um, Godzilla's everywhere. You're welcome. Go to your local comic shop. You will find Godzilla in four or five, six different places. Hands down.
Also on Apple TV.
Yeah, but that's delightful.
I haven't watched it yet.
If you are paying attention to anything in the MonsterVerse, it is so good. I I think that might actually be the best thing going right now. In the MonsterVerse because it actually is more about Monarch and how they existed and how they're doing the Trekkie, the big lizards that punch big monkeys. Um, yeah, it's good stuff. But over in the world of Marvel, um, I'm trying to remember if we've talked about Marvel Knights in the past.
Yes.
I feel like
Well,
we have because
just in discussions around Daredevil and
right,
such.
because it's been a minute since there's been Marvel Knight stuff.
Hmm. And
Well,
what wasn't good.
yeah. So original folks and Christopher Priest, now attached, are going to bring us back, and it's going. They've announced it as bringing back the imprint Marvel Knights. We'll see if that sticks. But there is a short that's going to kick it all off called World to Come. It's a six issue. They're going to be starting in Wakanda. Um, Chala's MIA, and they're kind of unfolding all that wonderful stuff from there. But their whole goal is to retool and reintroduce the Marvel Knights sub imprint. I'm slightly skeptical at the moment, given some of the things that have occurred in the past, but it does look like at least the right people are attached for the moment.
Yeah, you can attach people and that did something good once. That doesn't make what they're going to do again good.
Valid. And we could talk a little more about that further down the line with,
Kingdom's still coming.
Kingdom still coming, Hush 2, uh,
That DC forgot about for 6 months.
Batman the Long Halloween, the last Halloween. Um,
Batman the Long Halloween, the long name.
yeah, Batman the Long Halloween, the last Halloween, issue number 5. And people are still getting shot in the face. That's basically where we're at there, but I'll save that for a little later. Um, so yeah, if you were a big fan of the early 2000s Marvel Knights, they're at least going to give it another go. And we'll see because 2018 was when they did the 20th anniversary. I think it was 20th or 25th. 20th. Um, and that's when I think we did talk about it last because it was like, hey, this happened, and well, it happened. So you're not wrong. Sometimes, unfortunately, the nostalgia thing can also get run over by a Mack truck, and basically all of us forget that we were here for a good reason. Instead, it's just people getting hit by big rigs. Not good.
Not good.
That's not good for comics. That's not even good for television. What can I say? But the two industry things that I wanted to dive into, because we're going to beat a dead horse until that horse gets bought by somebody. Um, Bleeding Cool is looping back around on the Todd McFarlane is absolutely going to make a go at acquiring Diamond's distribution business. And I believe today was the last day for all of the official participants to say, yep, I'm in this auction, this bid process, because they all have to declare themselves. And rumor is that Todd really wants it for a lot of reasons, that he will make it Image's official home for distribution. He will move all of Image's properties under one roof for distro. He will move all of his toy lines under a single distro because if you haven't had to purchase stuff from McFarlane Toys, it's a process. It actually helps his business a lot to consolidate. So the more and more you sit and stare at it, you go, this kind of makes sense. And some of the things that the article that's in the show notes goes into even more detail is Todd's always kind of been family friends with the folks that have owned the business. There's some spirit, at least, of what Diamond was attempting to accomplish over the years, but maybe hopefully in a way that makes money, not hemorrhages it and makes everybody's comic books really late. So it's an interesting thought because I have been kind of trying to think of who buys it and it survives, or who buys it just to liquidate it. And I kind of feel like that might be an option that might not make it go away. I mean, Todd certainly loves comic books, and especially the true reality of independence having control more so than the big two.
Right.
Um,
But that also
so
puts him deeper in the big two's pockets.
well, ironically, it makes up a big three. One might argue, because centralizing Image distro where Marvel and DC have made their choices, it's an interesting thought, but I think there's also a lot of logistics there that still need to be worked out because Diamond hemorrhaged money for a reason. Um, so it'll just depend on whether they actually attack some of those problems or if it's like I have a distribution warehouse now. Um, that's the thing.
Yeah.
So that should more slowly, quickly start unfolding over the next couple weeks because I think that becomes much more public in terms of who's throwing money at it and ultimately who wins. I think will shake out by summer. So we'll see if we get to go around that whirlwind. But I know going into my shop this past week, folks were like, "It's really fun having to deal with 47,000 distributors again." Because dudes that have lived in all of the eras, some guys still remember what it was like before Diamond consolidated, and they're
Ooh.
like, "This feels awful familiar."
Emphasis on the awful.
Yeah, and not necessarily a good thing, but they're still hacking at it. But the last thing that I kind of wanted to talk about is it's interesting because I hadn't seen numbers and I don't know how reliable they are, which means they're a thing. And that is, let's talk about how people money make making comics. Explicitly for the sake of this conversation, pencilers. So people that make the pretty pictures. I think we've mentioned it over the years on and off that we know tons of folks in this business that literally are in this business and cannot feed their families.
Oh yeah. Well,
Um,
there's a dude who's literally putting out content for DC right now
mhm.
that had to hold an art sale just to pay his medical bills, where
Yep.
he was selling off originals and stuff like that.
So it's a swag. But the rumor is between the big two, the average, so big two, Marvel, DC, an average per page is $160 a page. You break that out to kind of rough what these folks do on average for production and everything. That's $38,000 a year.
I know like these people that charge 250 for a headshot or a bust at cons, and they're
S-
charging the people at a con more than DC pays them.
Yep.
That's
And that's
shenanigans.
because selling their original art can net them from 15 to 20 grand additional because they're given that ability. But in terms of putting some of that stuff into production, at least I'm talking about what their average like starting folks are.
Yeah.
This doesn't come into, like people that are under big contracts and that kind of thing. So, but as somebody points out in this is in New York City, the minimum wage is $17 an hour. That means that a minimum wage employee of anybody in the city of New York makes roughly $36,000 a year. So for those of you that were keeping track, a starting penciler is just barely making minimum wage if they're living and working in New York, which granted in today's environment they don't have to actually sit in New York anymore, sit in LA anymore, that a lot of folks do work from wherever. And that was starting even pre-COVID in this business. But when you break it down at the end of the day, Marvel and DC, whose homes for the longest time really do focus primarily in New York, basically people trying to break into the comic book industry are making less money than the dude that's working at Burger King in Times Square. That makes my head hurt. And oh, by the way, that number includes zero benefits, which means someone that is working full time at a fast food restaurant anywhere in the city of New York has better benefits than pretty much anyone at Marvel or DC.
Or
And
as anyone that's been pastoring a church for 10 years.
no,
I asked, I'm approaching,
I close in prayer.
I'm approaching 10 years at my church, and I know my church was like a little church plant church. But I was like, hey, y'all, I'm about to hit 10
Yeah.
years. Yeah, think I can get a raise? They're like, oh, wouldn't that be great? And that was the whole conversation.
You're absolutely going to get a pizza party and a plaque.
Yep. I won't even get the pizza party. I'll only get the pizza party if I go pick it up. But I digress. It's for the Lords.
Oh, no.
I do it for Jesus, not the dollars.
I guess that's a good thing.
Yeah,
'Cause,
for
mm, mm. Well, apparently we probably know a bunch of pencilers that are like,
yeah.
preach, brother. um,
Well, I mean,
any,
and not naming names or anything, but like, how often do we have people just in our bubble that are pencilers and artists like that who are
yeah,
like selling their Xbox games
yeah,
and just for
everything.
everything?
Unfortunately, we actually know a lot. Or people that have been trying to break in and well, I mean, the thing I'd actually like to see more of, and we have some folks we could tickle on it, but it's even more complicated, is writers are even worse.
Oh yeah.
Because like I think their stuff is usually rated like in I believe most of their contracts usually involve cents more than dollars.
Well, I was just at a show in Florence that had Stephanie Williams,
Mm.
who did like Nubia and Mo- Devil Dinosaur and
Mm-hmm.
Moon Girl. Is it Moon
Moon
Girl?
Girl and Devil Dinosaur. Yep.
Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur and all this stuff. And I'm like, just like rocking it in Artist Alley. I'm like, hey, friend. I'm like,
Hello, friend. Pull up a stool to the fire.
and I was
We've
like,
st- we've stolen some of these scraps to create this fire, but
I was like, "Hey, Carmen, she's the lady that writes Devil Dinosaur." She's like, "That's great. Why is she here with you?"
Dang.
I'm like, "Oh no, I'm sorry, tiny human." Um,
Oh,
they at
I
least
mean,
said her name on the microphone though. So
chase your dreams. Chase those dreams. It's hard out there for creatives. What can I say? But I am, I'm more fascinated in the conversation of Marvel and DC are behemoth entities that make money off from creatives' existence. And it's still kind of an environment where most of them basically barely break even on just living or not at all. And it's one of those things that it's kind of always been that way. You talk about guys that lived the bullpen days and everything, and like people basically were begging for work by showing up. Like if I should say this, like if people have the chance, Amazon actually has a ton of documentaries on a ton of comic book stuff that's on their Prime Video, and some of them don't suck. Um, I watched a 90-minute on Mike Mignola and Hellboy, and he literally said, he goes, I sucked at inking, but I went to New York because I was going to be an inker. And I just lived in the Marvel bullpen and looked like a sad puppy until people gave me pages. And that's how he got like all of his first books. He's like, and I was terrible. Um, but he's like, I don't know if people could even do that today because most of us that like started during that era literally just moved to New York and lived like seven of us to an apartment, fighting the rats off every single day just to exist, to then go sit in the bullpen and look like sad puppies until people gave them work. And it was because at that time, I mean, the height of the end of the 80s and the end of the 90s of producing so many books, they literally didn't have the pencilers or the inkers to meet the volume they were putting out. So they were like, hey, you only sort of suck. Do this because it'll be done by tomorrow. And that's just wild to me. That this industry that in theory is still like banging. There's plenty of people that are like, "Oh no, the sky is falling," but we're like in year 15 of comic books are ending. Direct market is falling apart, but it's not. Technically, the comic book sales show is quite the different opposite, but I don't know. I think some of what we're seeing and finding it difficult to find books is that we've said it before. They're just not telling great stories, and I think they've limited some of their production, and it's just not what it was. But
on on the Marvel bullpen end of things in the discussion, are you up to speed on the documentary being kickstarted?
mm-hmm,
That's so for
mm-hmm,
some of y'all who don't know, there's a
mm-hmm,
documentary being kickstarted that
uh-huh.
uh, basically alleges that people were using Stanley for money making profits in his latter years and committing
Mm.
elder abuse. So
And following on that, if you haven't seen it, Todd, um, seeing as he's involved in everything, McFarlane had came out a few days ago when that project got announced and basically said, "Back off. It's not what you think." So I am kind of curious now because he actually kind of went to bat for the guy, is the last I saw. So, but comics are weird, friends,
comics are weird.
especially when it comes down to who controls what interest and copyrights and creator rights and everything. And well, you can go find plenty of existing documentaries on Stan and where some people fall on some of that or don't fall on that. And ugh. So, well, it be that way sometimes.
Well, the one thing I'm hearing people really pushing back on is like, if you genuinely have a concern and you have evidence, release it. Don't try and make money off of it.
Mm-hmm.
This just sounds like you're trying to like profit off of what could be potential abuse just to make more dollars. Again, if you cared, you would have said something either A, while he was alive, or B, without trying to charge people for it. So Hey kids, I've got proof of abuse happening in the public school system. For $40, I'll let you know which teachers are creepers.
Oh, Creeper Teacher new website. Yep. Here for the ideas, y'all.
Yep.
Um, but yeah, that is in fact what you need to know. Our bi-weekly look at the industry and delivering you the insider knowledge or whatever is fit to print at Bleeding Cool. Um, why are those guys so good but so annoying? Um, yeah. As always, you can join in on the conversation with Hector and I and all of your other nerdy friends on the Love Thy Nerd Discord. Begin your wonderful geeky adventure with us. It's probably pick your own adventure. It'll tell you to go like to a different chat channel or something every
You're
so
not going to
often.
read what we say anyway, so it doesn't
Yeah.
matter.
Wait, you assume they listen to what we say?
That part.
Oh no. But tell us what you liked, what you hated, or possibly what we missed, because I guarantee we probably do on a weekly to
I've
bi-weekly basis.
I've got a new follower person who's literally like chronicling their way from episode 1 all the way up on these and is like hitting me up with notes about where do I find this? What issue is this again?
Bro, do you know how long ago that was?
Yeah, I do.
There's show notes. You're asking the old people to remember things. Mm-mm, mm-mm. Maybe. Depends. Some of them were really good. So let's give the people what they want. And no? All right. Never mind. That's the show, y'all. Hector said no comics this
It's
week.
over.
All right. Tell tell them what's gonna truly amaze them this week.
Oh, nothing. Um, um,
I tried.
yeah. This won't be amazing, but I do stand by it. Absolute Wonder Woman number 5
Mm.
was like I still stand by this firmly. This issue went on to solidify that this is currently the best book in the Absolute series. So far, it's the most creative, and it stays consistent. All 5 issues thus far being entertaining, well written, beautiful, and still like finding some humor and hope and encouragement all throughout the process and giving us a new aspect we've not seen before.
What's
Um,
consistency like?
I don't this book because it's the only consistent thing I've read in a long, long time. Um, but like, have you been reading this?
No. Some of the absolutes I've kind of just I might pick up once they all are
Well, like this is the end of this arc.
okay.
So the first 5. Oh, so the short version of this whole arc has been the story of like Wonder Woman being raised in the hellish regions.
Mm.
She's not just someone who she wasn't an Amazonian. She was literally raised in hell by a witch.
Mm.
Um, and she meets Steve Trevor when he is killed and sent to hell and helps bring him out of it. And at one point loses an arm in battle and gets a magic arm. It's
Mm.
its own thing. But she sends Steve back to his world, and she's raised by her mother, who is Cirque now, not or
Mm.
Cersei instead
Hmm.
of
Yep, yep.
yeah. So she's all magic and witchcraft and all the darker things
Mm.
rather than just Amazon's love, truth, and beauty. And basically, the story picks up in modern day when effectively Cthulhu shows up on the shore of Jersey.
I mean, that's plausible.
And so the real time issue is Wonder Woman revealing herself to the world, uh, trying to magically fight Cthulhu while the military annoys it, and uh, having a great story of inspiring people in Steve, but with some dark magic-y stuff. Um, the end of the story for 5 boils down to she turns herself into Medusa
Okay.
to battle the Cthulhu thingy. And
Is that a
and
technical term?
Well, I mean, it's your typical like Lovecraftian monster looking thing.
I
It
was gonna
hasn't
say it's similar yet legally distinct.
similarly equally distinct. She has cooler weapons. She has a bone Pegasus, like a skeleton Pegasus. Um,
That's cool.
so if you're
I want
into
one.
if you're into Rhea Ripley, then you're really gonna like this Wonder Woman because a gothic buff warrior woman. This is for you. Um,
This is your jam.
this is absolutely your jam. But she turns into Medusa, and then Steve, being a sweetie pie, is the only thing that can bring her back from being Medusa. But this is
Aw.
literally the best like story. This is again, it's this has only been 5 issues, and I don't know that I would put it above Wonder Woman Dead Earth, but by golly, it's
It's it's
inching.
it's working its way. It's just gonna wear you down, grind you into it.
Yeah, it's inching its
Mm.
way to being better than Wonder Woman Dead Earth. Um, and darn it, it might be with this issue. I don't know and it picked up to go to a very like interesting storyline for the next arc. And if the next arc does even remotely well, this is going to be better than Wonder Woman Dead Earth.
So they got to land it.
Yeah. Well, they landed one arc. If it stops here on a cliffhanger, it's going to be a nice, consistent number two. They do anything better going forward, then it is going to take maybe the title as the best Wonder Woman collective story of our modern time.
You've heard it here. Hector is has foretold
I gave
the
some
great
spec.
the greatness of absolute Wonder Woman.
It's good, dude. Wonder Woman Dead Earth was the best Wonder Woman story I'd read.
Agreed.
And just like Harleen is the best Harley story I've read.
Yeah.
I mean, the fact that during our podcast run, we've gotten two of the best collective storylines for these characters is like, I ain't mad at it. I'm like, I'm grateful to be here. Um, but I ain't like I'm hoping for more.
Yep, that's it, kids.
It's like if you were alive young enough to see the Beatles play in their prime, don't expect any other good music in your life. You got
Yeah, it's
all
just
you
that's
needed.
it.
That's it.
Yep.
That's all you're
You're
done.
good.
We
It's out.
got Harleen, Wonder Woman, Dead Earth, and a sparse piecing of Batman books. I think we can call it a day. The
Mhm.
first two deceased books. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sayonara.
Hmm.
All right, what you got?
All right. I've been talking about it. I'm gonna keep talking about it. Ghost Machine, Red Coat. So the first like numbers 7 or 8 issues was like the first continuing arc, and it's all been alternate history stuff. Which I mean, the whole unnamed universe is that. Um, but we meet Benedict Arnold, like George Washington, and like all kinds of craziness, and this redcoat that's immortal now because of all kinds of silliness that Ben Franklin and a bunch of other crazy people did. We're kind of like it's not quite anthology now, but now he's kind of hopping through time, and so issue 9 was Johnny Appleseed, and issue 10 is Annie Oakley, and there's nothing remarkable in the story itself except that these are just two really fun like character one-offs of Americana and then some, and it's just fun. And Chris is here for fun comics. I think I've unapologetically said that in the past. Here I am saying it again that like also these aren't like hey it's Annie Oakley and there's like no conversation like these have been dense reads. There's a lot of words on some of these pages, which used to be how comics are, which is why when people are like, oh, if you learn how to read comic books, that's for kids. Pick up an old Jack Kirby anything and tell me that there weren't like 47 words that you probably had to look up. Because once upon a time, comic books had lots of words around the pictures. Um, They're just dense with. Let me see if I can find a page. Probably won't take long. But this fun jaunt into Americana is just that. It's fun. Look at her. She's Annie Oakley. She got her gun. Um, the Johnny Appleseed book had them both being attacked by giant earthworms because
as they
Johnny
should.
Johnny Appleseed makes big stuff. Whatever. Um, and we're gonna see where it goes, but um, it's about to hit a 3 book arc where Redcoat meets the Northerner. Um, so they're about to get in the war of the aggression. Um, the first book with the Revolution was all kinds of craziness with like I don't know stonemason like crazy stuff and immortal beings and Benedict Arnold living for being another immortal and all kinds of craziness. And Albert Einstein was his kid companion that helped him through all kinds of craziness. So I think a lot of crazy things are yet to come, and I'm here for this crazy. Hmm? Yeah, hmm?
Nice.
Yeah, nice. So that's mine. So what was your number dose?
And I don't know that any of my picks are in a specific order.
Yeah, that's
Um,
fair. I don't think mine are either.
uh,
Sort of.
Probably, yeah, they might actually be. Um, but
Okay.
Secret Six number one. Um, and I say this one with modest hesitation.
Mm.
I am a redonkulously committed big fan of the original Secret Six run. That's
No, say that. Say it's not so.
Yeah. That's one of those books that I was there for the very first one and picked up everything they ever did,
Tell it.
including
Tell us why, Hector.
because it was Gail Simone.
There it is.
Yeah, it was Gail Simone,
You
and
gotta.
she's
You gotta give the people what they're here for.
and she just, dude, she wrote such a good team with that squad, and um, and then some of the stuff that even permeated the Suicide Squad movies came directly from the Secret Six runs.
Yep.
Um, but the Secret Six is basically a non-government controlled Suicide Squad that has a assortment of players. Typically, since its founding, Catman, Deadshot are staples. It's had Bane. It's had Cheshire. It had an not Barda. Yeah, it did have Big Barda did for a second, didn't it?
Did it?
Um, it had a Apocalyptic woman or a
Secret.
I feel like it had. They had a pretty
Bane, Deadshot, Catman, Scandal Savage, Giganta.
yeah, barely.
She's listed.
I guess she's listed,
Black
but
Alice, Harley
Black
Quinn,
Alice was a main staple. Harley Quinn popped in out of there when Harley Quinn was first being thrown into everything.
King Shark, Crimson Dawn, Mad Hatter.
Yeah, King Shark being in there was also, a thing.
Hey, the Fiddler.
Yeah, I remember him too. Um, but it had a good run. I've loved Secret Six. This, and I'm basing putting this on my pulls solely on the name and the potential because this issue by itself was not it.
Womp womp.
It was not bad, but
But it was not it.
it was not it. And outside, and one, it ain't Gail Simone, which that's fine. I get it. She can't write everything. Um, Two, and she's currently writing X-Men and some other stuff.
I was gonna say she's currently under subcontract at Marvel. Hmm.
Yeah. Dude, she even wrote a good Plastic Man books. I don't even care, dude. She can do it. Her domino is fire. I just love Gail Simone. Um, but this book effectively um is a struggling romance comedy slash drama book so far with Jonathan Kent and his boyfriend.
Oh my.
Because he's a superhero now too.
Yes.
Yes. And they had relationship and general life trauma from all the stuff that happened at whatever that event was called, or Absolute Power. Absolute Power, yes. And he has PTSD from Waller, and
I mean,
yeah, as you would.
as one
Um,
does.
and then that character Dreamer, that was also recently introduced and played a big part in the Absolute Power thing, shows up at their front door while they're already fighting about Waller. And they show up to say Waller has escaped. So the three of them go to try and find Waller. And they end up in a prison looking for Waller. And lo and behold, uh, because they're in a pinch, free Black Alice. Black Alice then teleports them to the end of the book. And it's not a major spoiler. So just rock with it. It's okay. Otherwise, you might not pick up the book. Uh, uh,
Roll
she
with it.
she teleports them to uh the Secret Six lair house thing. And again, we've had several iterations of the Secret Six since this was the iteration of it. So I don't even know where the Secret Six even stands in the Rebirth era. So this is new because we've not had
Yeah.
Secret Six since Rebirth, or Catman or anything. Um, but they Alice teleports them to the House of Secrets or whatever it's called. And Catman is bloody as all get out, lying on the floor, and Deadshot is standing over him, and he says, "You bleeping, meddling kids," and that's where the book ends. So our six turns out to be, as it currently stands,
Five.
Deadshot, Deadshot,
Hmm.
Black or Catman, Black Alice, Dreamer, Jonathan Kent, and whatever his boyfriend's name is our current six. So,
Okay.
uh, had it not included Catman and Deadshot, I would have like this is just a random team up book. This isn't Secret Six. Um, but bringing Black Alice, Blake and Lawton into it, half of them are Secret Six people. So I'm down for it just to see where it goes. But listen, there was nothing better than when Bane was in the Secret Six. I've got so many autographed comics from that era, and just I loved those books so much. So that's one of those books that will always get me solely on nostalgia. But I'm not so cynical to think this book won't be good. But I definitely think this was that they did not come out swinging with their A game.
Hmm.
Now, was this good writing for Jonathan? Yes. Um, are you going to feel a little bit lost if you didn't read that whole Suicide Squad Dreamer book? Yep.
Hmm. Yeah. Yep.
If you haven't had a good summarization of Absolute Power and you didn't read the Suicide Squad Dreamer book, then it's going to feel a little lost. Which those are some really weird prerequisites.
Mhm. Yeah, that
So,
checks out.
but yeah, so there's that. It is a very not a skeptical, but it is a very hesitant recommendation.
Hmm. Came with a warning.
Came with a warning, and we'll know more by issue two. Definitely by issue three.
It's usually
Um,
how that works. Yep.
it is, but like some books, you're like, oh yeah, I'm here for this. Um, this is a I haven't left you yet. So
You're on notice.
yeah, it's not how you would want a date to go, but guess it's okay. With a book. Your turn.
Okay. Hey, it's Batman the Long. What I mean, look at that. There's like three titles.
Batman the
Um,
long title. Yes.
Batman the Long title, issue number 5. Um, I'm here just because it's still cool, but this week is Bill Sienkiewicz, and look at him. But he just does such really weird stuff. But it, I feel like Bill's one of those guys of people either really like what he does or like why. I'm here for what he does because it's his stuff on Batman is usually really kind of wild. And I mean, look at it, look at it. Um, I don't even really need to go into anything there. It's just Bill's
How do you
cool.
feel like this story is shaping up?
I'm worried in this issue because if it didn't have an amazing artist, I might have been like, what? Because lots of people are dead. We still kind of don't know why, or well, I mean, bad guys doing bad guy stuff, but who is still kind of. I think we're almost halfway, or we are halfway, and we don't really have a glimpse into the who and or like the real villainy why. Is kind of where I'm at. That lots of people got shot. A lot of people got shot because that's the story. That's what we're here for. Um, And this book also just felt like, how can we make Commissioner Gordon feel even more like garbage? Um, and I have mixed
You can
feelings
do that
when
by reading the main Batman title.
right, and that's why I was kind of like, man, you're like just trying to kick a bro when he's down in this book. Like his kid gets kidnapped, people start getting shot, and then this week's book drops, and I'll save it for all y'all to read it, and you can tell us what you think. But I was just like, wow. I was like, Jim's just like if Jim was gonna have a Breaking Bad moment, like it's coming, because
I'll
he ain't got nothing.
I'll just say this too, like, and this is just a general life commentary for these books right now. There's too many Batman books.
That's fair.
Um,
I'm not
between
reading most of them for that reason. I've looked at the wall lately and been like, meh.
between Batman, Detective, Batman and Robin, and Absolute Batman, I'm like, I could do with two of these.
And there's more.
Yeah,
Like
but
that's not even.
but here's the thing: Detective right now is a Batman and Robin story,
Mm.
which
So
makes
yeah,
Batman and Robin confusing.
Batman and Robin, Absolute Batman,
Now, did you see the thing about
Detective.
Batman and Robin though coming up?
Uh-uh.
It's going to switch over to Jason, but I think not current times.
Just okay. Make it okay.
Yeah. Um, just give me a Red Hood book, bro.
Right?
Like,
No, Hector doesn't want a Red Hood book.
listen, y'all have not done anything as good as Red Hood and the Outlaws with Bizarro and Artemis since then.
Hmm.
Give me my freaking book back.
Give us Outlaws back. No, absolutely.
Even the webtoon that is okay is better than the I don't know what to do with Jason Todd syndrome that we're currently suffering from. And listen, they've fully developed Damien into a character at this point. Um, and Tim just barely exists. You turn a page the wrong way, you're going to forget Tim Drake even exists, or that he should exist, or a good reason why he does still exist. So, man, I throw guitar picks at you.
How dare you?
That's how I dare.
All right.
um.
So
So
speaking about bad people,
speaking of bad people, um, Batgirl number 5. And this one, based on 2/3 of the book, was not going to make my pull.
hmm,
The last two issues of this have been mid-ish. To like, okay,
it's
cool,
still the most Batgirl books I think I've ever read in succession ever.
yeah. Um, but it's been mid-ish, and I'm gonna say this too, and this isn't like a critique, but like
Mm.
I just really don't feel like the Black Canary book translates well on paper.
Mm.
Like I think it would make a great short animated film, but because so much of the book is boxing and in-ring fighting, it's just like you're losing me, bro.
Mm.
Um, but anyways, uh, the Batgirl book is again Batgirl and Shiva doing their thing. Um, but why it's good for me and why it made the pull and why I can recommend this strongly, maybe even more so than Secret Six, um, is that there comes a point where she gets drugged by the blue flowers, the same ones from like Batman Begins. Which, by the way, by the audacity that Batman Begins was 20 years ago,
uh,
the sheer audacity of the march of time that Batman Begins was 20 whole years ago. 2 decades have surpassed since since Christopher Nolan had the like voices popping out, man. Um Literally 2 decades.
yeah.
That's
Yeah.
bonkers. Um done begun and retired.
Batman's like, nah.
He's like 20 years later. He's like Batman retired. This is where we are. Anyway, he gets Cassie gets dosed by those blue flowers, and then wakes up in a dream with Stephanie there talking to her. And she's like, "Am I dead?" She's like, "Nah, but that'd be cool, wouldn't it?"
Would it though?
But Cass, she's like, "Do you want to tell me how you feel?" And Cassie's like, "I'm not good with words." She's like, "This is your dream. I bet you could be." And then so for like 4 pages, you've got Cassie unloading like exposition and like deep recessed thoughts in her processing and monologuing about her feelings of abandonment as a child, abuse as a kid, and what it feels like to not know who you are as an adult.
Dang.
So for those pages of sheer dialogue with flashbacks included, that book was worth the price of admission. It was worth reading 5 issues of Batgirl to get to that issue. Um, and just for that conversation. And there's 1 issue to go. And as long as it's not a complete waste, I'll feel like this was a successful run as a book. And that they did a good job with it. So there's lots of kung fuing and such, but like literally my favorite part was just her dialogue. So or her monologuing.
Hmm.
So there you go. That's
No,
why I recommend that one.
it's good. I told you I was going to talk about Godzilla.
Godzilla!
Oh, Godzilla. So Godzilla's Monster Piece Theater.
Shut your mouth.
Yeah. So it's Godzilla versus
Boo.
the Universal Monsters,
Boo.
but it's super pulpy. Super pulpy. It like the story itself, like, yep. Nope. Just look at the pretty pictures. Just look at all that Godzilla, those mummies, him throwing Dracula like a big old thing there. This is just a pulp comic book. And whenever I see it and it doesn't like entirely suck, I'm gonna be like, that's what comic books are about. You should buy them.
Okay.
Oh shoot.
Okay.
Um, but the like versus a city, nah. But if you want a true pulp experience, definitely Monster Piece Theater. Not sorry.
I feel enriched in my soul.
Okay, you do you.
This one is so I'm gonna be super up to date and honest with you.
Mm.
I did not make it to my comic book shop this week or last week. and I wasn't sure if we were going to record today, and I had to work too long. So
Well, I technically didn't get this week's stuff, so
I I
that
I
checks out. That's just
I
fine.
don't tell anybody, but I bought some stuff off on the Kindle.
Hmm.
Um, just because I was like, I need some variety because I had plenty of books that I've read since last time, like the previous weeks,
Yeah.
but I didn't want to endorse any of them. Um,
Ugh.
I'm gonna say this: the Ninja Turtles book has gone downhill greatly.
Mm.
Are you reading this?
No.
It went from doing just a solo issue for the first four on a different turtle each
Mm.
to them just being toxic and hating each other and barely functional to the point where Donnie is anorexic and he's carrying around a dead rat as Splinter. And he looks gaunt and disturbed, and he's literally carrying a rat with its guts falling out. Um, while everybody else is being toxic and petty and just beating each other up, and it's gross, bro. Like I feel like I'm at a bad family dinner. It is not entertaining.
Yeah. Yeah, this is not okay. I'm not okay.
So the last two issues were literally painful to read.
Ooh,
Um,
okay.
and I like based on those, I will not pick up the rest of this run. Like,
Well,
so like that wasn't great. Um, the last two issues of Fantastic Four were actually better than the previous 10 issues of Fantastic Four, and it's only still on my pull list because I forget to tell them to take it out, or they don't listen to me when I do.
it's
Um,
probably that.
X-Men is mid. It's good right now. It's not bad. You covered Daredevil last week. The Zatanna book was really good. I know you had that in your pulls last time. I hadn't read it yet because we had it in your pulls. That
That
was
was
really
fun.
solid. That was good. I would read that with zero remorse. Um, but yeah, I don't know, man. But the what I so my options
Tell
were
tell the people what you did read
my
that you
option
liked.
my well it's close. Um,
Mm,
so option A was to go with Delicious in Dungeon because I love every page of this, but I haven't
yeah.
finished it. So I'm like, didn't want to say yes, I read this, and I'm
Uh,
like there. Also, me saying Delicious in Dungeon is like kind of a cop out because I know I'm gonna love it.
mm.
But
Love it.
be prepared for the next episode when I bring
Yeah.
up that Delicious in Dungeon book.
Spoilers.
Um, and so what I did land on, and this was between a lot of different stuff that could have been close on, was Superman number 23.
It's an
Um,
oddly specific number.
yeah. Um, but Superman number 23, and haven't been reading this, have you?
Nope.
Okay, so somewhere down the recent line of things, and just to explain this for the peoples, a dude called the Time Stamper, the Trapper Keeper, something of that nature.
Nice.
Um,
He have a trapper keeper with
oh,
dolphins and like rainbows.
yes, it's a Lisa Frank exclusive.
Yeah.
By the way, did you see that it's a documentary on Lisa Frank and how she was the devil?
No.
There's a documentary on Lisa Frank and how she had a really bad business practices and it ruined her marriage and family and stuff. But anyways, um, there's a dude that shows up called the Time Trapper. That's his actual name,
Okay.
and he shows up.
I wonder what he does.
He traps time. Um, but he shows up, and I know like you can probably see this from this, but who does he look like to you?
That's kind of doomsday-ish.
Yeah, he's a skinny Doomsday.
He's doomsday on Ozempic.
He, hey, buddy, that's probably not okay. We here at Love Thy Nerd do not body shame or drug shame or something. I
It's
don't know.
not about those things, no.
Um, but no, he literally is Doomsday. Um, but he's a
Actually, or
yeah.
okay, okay.
He's Doomsday, but he's like the Batman who laughs for Doomsday.
Oh, that's going to be slightly creepy in the long run.
Yeah. He is an ultra intelligent Doomsday version Um, and kind of his deal is with every time Doomsday is killed, he gets smarter.
Hmm.
And so
That's interesting.
he's like one Doomsday death away from being all powerful.
So
Um,
he's one death away from being Brainiac.
More so. He's already past Brainiac. But here's the
Ruh-roh.
thing. This isn't it's kind of got like a Solomon Grundy vibe, but it's not him who has to die. Like our world's Doomsday.
Mm.
So this dude shows up and he's from the future or the past or something along those lines. I don't know. It was like 4 issues ago where that was introduced. But he shows up and he's like, you guys have Doomsday in holding. Give him to me. I'll kill him permanently, and then I can rise to godhood.
How is this good for all of us?
Right. And they're like, nah, fam, we're straight. And he's like, I'm just gonna start killing everyone you love until you do what I say. Okay, bye. Um,
Yee.
and to the point where because he controls time or whatever, he can show Lois Lane her exact moment of death. He makes her like relive Superman's death repetitively, like all
Ooh.
these things. And Lois is also still super powered after the events of absolute power. And I don't know if I mentioned this or if this was just in our general discussion, but Lois has Zod's power.
Okay.
And Lois doesn't know that, and Zod doesn't know that.
Hmm.
Zod just knows his power's gone, and Lois knows she has power and that it is not going to last forever. But Zod is also trying to hunt down his power. Um, so either way, this is the big showdown between Time Stamper and Trapper Keeper and Lois and Superman. And something they're doing is making Superman go like, you know, angry with the red stuff. And it's just a solid issue. It's one of those, it's not predictable. I'm enjoying it. And I don't know if you remember, but after the events of whatever happened with Brainiac mom lady, Queen Brainiac or whatever she was, that Lex lost his memory like for real, and he's
Hmm.
like a good person,
Aw.
and so
Well,
he's
that won't last.
it won't. But we're like 12 issues deep of it, um, or close to it. Um, he look
He's gonna break bad
uh also he looks like you
here at LexCorp.
here at LexCorp because he's literally just bald with a red beard and smiling. Look, screenshot. It's
Look,
there. It's there.
it's it's
Screenshot.
how it's how
Screenshot this.
we
Screenshot
store
this.
it's how we store all of the
Screenshot.
soul.
Screenshot it. It's you. It's you. Look, it's a crease. Um, see,
It's a
look,
me.
it's you and Superman right there.
We
See,
chilling.
we chilling. Um, but and they are, but in this process, they're also going all the way back to the whole Jimmy Olsen and Silver Banshee relationship, all the way
Oh
back at the
dang.
beginning of the book. But here's Zod in space being angry about being mid. Um, and but they go back to
Why don't you
the
get mad about it, bro? I
yeah, for real.
will.
Uh, but in the process of all the stuff, Doomsday uh hits Silver Banshee and Jimmy Olsen with some serious shenaniganry and about kills Jimmy. Look, here's Jimmy dying on a ventilator.
I'll tell you what.
Um,
I don't feel like Jimmy's had a good run like ever.
um, I'm gonna say this, at least by context of the years, the last year he's been with Silver Banshee, it's as good as he's ever gotten it.
Uh,
He's been well loved.
aw.
Um, But and so like Silver Banshee shows up to Lois and said, "You got Jimmy hurt. You just made your first arch enemy." And
I guess that's how that works.
yeah, she's like, "This is your fault. The man I love is in a coma because he was trying to get a picture of you. Again, that's Jimmy's fault. Why are you mad at me?
It's
Um,
always Jimmy's fault.
uh, don't Supercorp has been protecting your identity, so you must be someone special. But I don't care who you are. Just know this: you have your first arch enemy. Da da da. So this was fun. This was
All
like,
minor chords. Yeah.
yeah, this was a fun comic book romp. Um,
It's a romp now.
it was a romp. Because they definitely like lost their direction when they had like Marilyn Manson as a main villain for a while too. So it's, you know, when he was like Pharma was the bad guy, and it was like the yeah, we got drug corporations. That's our bad guys. But yeah, they lost the plot with Pharma, but I
Wow.
I still haven't canceled this book yet. So
Well, here we are.
here we are. Um, yeah. So what's your? Are you on to? Are we on? No, you got one
Nope,
left.
I got
Yeah.
one last one, but uh there's a bunch of Marvel characters versus Marvel character book one shots coming out right now.
Yeah.
99.99% of them, I look at them and I go, don't care, don't care, don't care, don't care. But then I saw Nick Fury versus Fing Fang Foom.
I almost picked that up too.
And I was like, heck yeah. And then mostly because who dat? Who dat? Oh, that's Dum Dum Dugan. So it should say Nick Fury and the Howling Commandos versus Fing Fang Foom because that's what this is. It's a World War II this fiery cloud with fangs is taking down all these aircraft, and so they call up their good buddy Nick Fury and the Howling Commandos to go check it out, and you get lots of Fing Fang Boom. Like I don't have to sell this book. Dum Dum Dugan, big dragon, is really angry.
Chris didn't actually read this book. He's just describing what's on the cover and
What's on the
hoping you don't
cover?
pay attention.
Except that literally is the book.
Okay, buddy. We
You will find
believe
out
you.
if you will find out if you read the book. I
We
said something
we
that required me to read the book to say.
we believe you.
I don't need this nonsense here. I get it from everywhere
Oh,
else.
look, Superman. What's this book about? Oh, it must be Creature Commandos.
Well, then Fing Fang Foom was actually about M&M's, not a sponsor.
And that's probably accurate. That's what the whole story was.
All right. Let's hit the people with the number ones and then allow them to go about their comic book lives.
For me, number one was Absolute Flash. Number one, uh, written by your boy Jeff Lemire.
Yeah. I haven't had a chance to read it yet, but it is definitely
I'll say
I'm
this:
curious what he gonna be up to here.
this is very slice of life-ish. This is
That's Jeff.
It is Jeff. It takes place around a 15-year-old Wally West,
Okay.
who is the military brat of a colonel who keeps traveling around, who is also his mom died. So he's a disgruntled teenager. He's basically Max Goof, but with no Roxanne.
Oh,
And and while he's being a disgruntled teenager, he runs into Barry, who is a scientist on said military base,
that checks out.
and says, "Hey, you want to see something cool?"
Do you want to
And
be a superhero kid?
takes him into a like a sciencey lab thing, and then his dad shows up and he's all angry and tells him never talk to Barry again. And then he goes back down to the lab later when he's a grumpy pants, and Barry like explodes in a atomic kaboosh. And then we see Barry or Wally being hunted down by maybe the too sexy version of the Sinister Six, or not Sinister Six. The what do you call, or Flash's Rogues Gallery?
Yeah, just
Yeah.
it's literally the Rogues Gallery is.
Okay, yeah, that's what it is. But like they're all too attractive and cool to be the Rogues Gallery. Like like Captain Cold looks like he should be played by like not anybody stupid. um,
Oof.
like he's muscular and has cool facial hair and you know is interesting. And then
No.
like Captain Boomerang basically has a Beyblade as his, no, not a Beyblade. Well, maybe no, what was the thing that where you had the like L-shaped thing that popped out on people's arms? Was it Yu-Gi-Oh? Like where you had your cards out here on your arm thing?
Yeah, mm, I don't remember.
But whatever that is what Captain Boomerang has. And he's on a first name basis with his boomerang, which basically functions like a Green Lantern projectile. Um,
Okay.
the book was quick. It was easy to read. It was fun to read. I actually cared what I was reading, and it already is better than all 5 issues of Absolute Superman,
Wait. Yeah, that's not shocking,
hands
unfortunately.
down, hands down.
Hands down. Uh, Assorted crisis events by
Basically, the
by
whole history of
Image
DC
Comics.
Comics.
Yeah. So on page one, um, no. So first of all, the art's cool. I like it. But what the story is that this person lives on the street that apparently every B movie company on the face of the planet is shooting a post-apocalyptic movie. So every day she basically gets interrupted by a different apocalypse
Huh.
because they're filming all day. Right. Okay. Stay with me. Because that's a cool idea for a comic book just if I stopped there.
Yeah, it is.
That is not the end of said story.
Of course not.
No. In fact, what's super fun is you find out that probably the reason they're filming all these B movies about all these different types of apocalypse, like, wars, robots, aliens, etc., is because the world that they live in have these things that are called atypical temporal phenomenon, ATP, um, which literally are time shifts and dimension shifts that occur randomly in reality. And they get little disaster app warnings that their life is potentially about to get bamfed into, but it's like by block, it's like by building. Sometimes it's everything because she goes to work one day and they don't know who she is. And she's like, this is normal because basically every 3 or 4 days I end up in a reality where I don't exist or I don't actually work here. So I guess I get a day off today. The end of the book for the setup is them going back and forth between movie sets, stuff that's going on, the actual ATPs, and time and space and everything folding over on top of itself to the point at the end of the first issue, you don't know if it's the movie apocalypse or if it's actual universal shift that has occurred or any combination thereof. And I kind of almost wanted the slow clap because it's crazy. There's like dinosaurs and the world like exploding and everything. And she's like, cool, but the directors are supposed to tell us when they blow stuff up on my street because I live here. And all the people on the street are like, no, 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 no. And but then in the last panel, you also see like a director and a TV camera. And I'm like, you legitimately don't know which apocalypse or whatever is occurring at the end of the first thing. And I stopped and I was just like, either one of these concepts alone is kind of cool, and you literally overlap them to this story that now we're kind of not know what's real and what isn't. And I think that is absolutely the political point that this book is trying to make. Is what is manufactured and what is real, and that those two things can intersect, and that's kind of scary. But I haven't picked up an image book in a while where I read the first one and went, dang, that's a really cool original idea that you actually didn't suck in really, really, really making me want to read the next one. Please let me get through the first arc of this and allow me to say that this is really good image because this is a cool idea that you absolutely can screw up.
It sounds like a lot to try and actually digest.
Uh-huh. And I this is a book that the first time in a while I found myself going back and forth going, did they show me? Is there a hint? Because they go back and forth to showing the warnings on her phone on top of basically the back end of movie sets. So they're setting you up for looking for these things, and then you're kind of like, I just saw both. So which is it? And I'm like, that's good. I I appreciate like in movies, that's cool because you might not see it. Video games, you might not see it because they can like dive you deep into a thing. This they had 32 plus pages to figure out how to do that to us with pictures and words. The magic of comic books.
Right.
So I think that's a podcast.
Yep. That sounds
I
about
th
right.
I think we talked a lot about comics today, but we had a lot of comic stuff to talk about. But that is, in fact, going to do it for us here at the Pull List Podcast. Episode 113 is in the books and now in your ears, in your eyeballs. Basically, most of your sensory capabilities we have like unlocked now. We haven't figured out the tactile thing of comic book pages, but we're working on
That's
it
why
in our
you have to
labs.
hold the comics while you listen.
That's true. You have to comic. Um, but it's true. We absolutely can't do any of this alone. We've mentioned it a few times today, and we mention it a lot. We are part of the Love Thy Nerd podcast network. Super glad to be here, and so you can check us out, all of our wonderful back issues and episodes. See what I did there? Marketing at lovethynerd.com. You can also find out about other shows that are part of the network. Maybe find something to add to your routine. See lots more of Hector. He's got some shows over there. Lots of other cool shows that have been rolling out as well. But wait, there is more. If you like watching us on your television, we are now also part of the GLU network, and you can download that app, search for Love Thy Nerd, and you can find all the cool stuff that Love Thy Nerd does, and actually watch it on your television or any of your screening devices and screens. But Hector and I do want to thank you for choosing us as your primary comic book knowledge factory on a near weekly basis. So don't leave us hanging. Rate and review the show. Slam, subscribe, like, and tell us how we're doing. We're on the iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher Radio, YouTube. Like we're in a lot of the places now. So come join the party, hang out with us. But ultimately, we do want to thank you. So thanks for listening, and remember, kids, read more comics. Because that's what we do here. We read comic books.
I'm gonna take